we're very pleased this year that we are making 4 Distinguished Teachers Awards. I think that this year's awards show the diversity of how excellent teaching is taking place across disciplines. It's also showing diversity in different levels, which means that at all levels academics can teach in a way that is regarded as outstanding and deserving of recognition. 2 of the candidates this year were senior lecturers when they were nominated and when the award was decided, but have since also become associate professors, which means that both candidates who are excellent in teaching are also showing excellence in research. And this is also very good to see that these 2 elements go hand in hand.
An excellent teacher is one who demonstrates exceptionality over his peers in relation to disciplinary knowledge, in relation to his or her use of pedagogies and technologies, but more importantly, a distinguished teacher is one who is a thought leader, who contributes not just to the institution, but to the community in which he or she resides.
First of all, I want to agree that this is a wonderful achievement, but I never thought that I really deserve an award of a distinguished teacher. So I'm very excited and thankful. I believe that life is changing. I believe that science is changing. I also am very much aware the kind of student that I'm teaching is changing. So there is no question that I have to be innovative. The challenge of dealing with people who are coming from a different background from mine was something that I overcame very quickly because of the concept and the approach of family that I used. And as a consequence of that, I was able to communicate effectively.
His instructions are always very clear. It's hard to get lost. It makes you feel relaxed and able to produce your best in your work.
As a teacher at university, it is important to keep in mind the importance of technology, especially in my field. Many theories in physics and chemistry and even in mathematics are very, very relevant. So you need to emphasize those when you teach in class, but you must link them to the practical side of things. Practicals assist you to make the students connect the theory and the practice. Teaching is something that is beyond just interacting with students in a classroom. We've got communities next door to the university. We've got communities in other parts of the world. It's very important to interact with those communities.
He's never lost that touch to the rural background, and I think that's a key to his success. He is working on Madumbi, for example, and he managed to make rural farmers be able to sell Madumbis through Woolworth.
I think also he had a very, very great passion in trying to empower communities and how our work and his work would also impact on improving their livelihoods.
I feel honoured, but I also feel incredibly humbled. Being a university teacher, you don't think about the accolades, you think about the teaching. And so when you're awarded in such a way, it can come as quite a surprise. And I feel humbled that my students felt that I'd had enough of an impact on their lives to nominate me. There is a field school that I developed in the Southern Kalahari where my postgraduate students and other students from other disciplines spend 2 weeks in the Kalahari on site in the field amongst a San community. We do a whole lot of workshops and writing exercises around research and ethics. And at the end of that, they publish a fully fledged article about that experience in the Kalahari.
I was part of the team that was being put together to go and do Kalahari field work. You go through intense training, intense support, intense orientation, and intense mentorship. And at the end of that school, you come up as a researcher?
My educational thinking is really shaped by two factors. The first of those is pragmatism, which is born of empiricism, which contends that the meaning and truth of any idea is a function of its practical outcome. There has to be an impact, there has to be an outcome. To just theorize around questions, for me, isn't sufficient.
I've been very fortunate to work with Prof. Francis on a number of projects and in a number of capacities. She brings dedication and passion to everything she does. Her commitment to excellence in research is demonstrated both in her supervision capacity and in the development of research skills in her teaching.
Professor Francis is a dedicated scholar, committed to producing the best scholars in research and supervision. I call her a mentor. She handles students in a way that they will get to a point of self-discovery.
Actually receiving the award was quite interesting because at some level, by the time we heard about it, I'd almost convinced myself it would never happen. I think if there's one thing that is a sort of like a dominant thread in my teaching is that I try and break the mold and I try and work outside the conventional. And my concern is that technology is not the answer to everything. And we have to be very aware of that. And so I take my students, especially some of my senior students, and we go outside with no technology and we sit on the grass and we talk about what we're actually learning. In those kind of ways, I try and break out of the mold and the expectations that students might have about how things should happen.
She really tries to look for ways in which she can pull the students into the learning process. She's always excited to do stuff, to try stuff, to be involved in new things. Looking at environments and ways in which we use technology in the teaching, not just teaching about the technology. And when you bring those two together, it has a beautiful resonance.
Technology really is a passion of mine. It's not just the thing I teach, the content, it's also my vehicle for teaching. And I suppose in many senses that is where lots of innovations come in. For many years we've worked in virtual environments like Second Life and Small Worlds, and the students work in those spaces because as technology people they then have to realize that things work differently when you are virtually moving through space. So they aren't just stuck with me as their lecturer, they can speak to lecturers all around the world, and we have done that. And also it allows them to gain a sense of confidence on a global scale.
Rose wants to bring the potential of technology to the learning experience for the classroom of today, whether it's face-to-face or online. I worked with Rose online on several joint projects with student teams where half the team was my students in the United States and half were her students in South Africa. Throughout these month-long projects, she was right in there with the students and with me to make sure each student was getting the most out of the experience.
My teaching philosophy is very centered around what I think I'm doing as a teacher. And what that is to actually enable students.
There's something that's important that I've noticed is that she continuously reevaluates the teaching. She sets these formative assessments that encourages self-learning. So in that way, her approach is very interactive and requesting feedback constantly for her teaching and the students.
One of the special things about Rose is that she's able to go across many disciplines. She has a great ability to personalize and individualize her teaching, which I think is a gift.
She's so passionate about what she does that you can't help but follow through with that passion in learning all the stuff that we cover. In tech, it's always something new, and she's always going the distance to bring that in or incorporating it into her lectures.
Our students go to wonderful places and great companies, which is very exciting for me. But what we are hearing is that they're getting students of ours who are not just skilled in the technical skills that are expected, but that they have all of the interpersonal skills, that they have an understanding of the business, they have an understanding of what the business is trying to achieve. And that at the end of the day is what information systems is about.
I'm very thrilled to have been awarded the Distinguished Teachers Award. I think it is a mark of distinction and of excellence the university bestows on an individual. I'm very excited to have been recognized in this way. I think, especially for my age, it's something that came as unexpected. I had applied for promotion and I did not even imagine that I'd be selected for Distinguished Teacher. Innovation is important in the work that I'm doing. I teach on issues of diversity, primarily focus on identification. The type of work that we do is deeply emotive. We speak of issues of race, of gender, of sexual identity, at times disability as well. So difference. Part of teaching about that is thinking out of the box by seeking to respond to the needs of students and understanding full well what the nature of the topic is that you're dealing with and how then you respond to that.
Thabo's teaching for me is different from other lecturers that I engage in. Different in the sense that he brings into the classroom life and the way he respects not only the colleagues but the students as well.
My teaching philosophy is mainly influenced by Bell Hooks' idea of being a transgressive teacher, so teaching to transgress. You seek to bring discomfort in the classroom. You bring discomfort so that a student can learn, because only when you are triggered can you actually learn something new. So as I go into the classroom, I understand as a transgressive teacher that I have to create an environment that is conducive to learning, but at the same time that I have to allow my students to be made uncomfortable by bringing in those controversial issues that they ordinarily would not want to deal or to engage with, in a way that does not seek to antagonize students, but at the same time that seeks to actually speak truth to power. This philosophy drives what I do, from the way in which I draw up my lesson plans, to the way in which I engage with my students in the classroom, to the way in which I engage with my students outside the classroom, and to the way in which my students even get assessed. It's about understanding who that student is. Until we get to that moment where we don't see students as numbers who are just coming into the classroom or individuals coming into the classroom and leaving, but seeing them as full individuals, then we can be able to truly reimagine what we offer in higher education.
Thabo is an exceptional human being. I think if you take the four arms of the university, university service, teaching, research and community service, he certainly is way over and above anything that I have achieved. Thabo's always been insistent on high quality university education.
In terms of preparation, in terms of content delivery and work ethics and working with children, I'm not surprised that he's being awarded a distinguished teacher, because that's what he is, that's what he deserves.